Hey guys, Jesse504 here, bringing you my PBA Week 3 battle versus Mardity. And first things first, I'm just gonna come out and say this is a post commentary during the team preview section, I guess. I'm gonna try to sound as objective as possible, not really hint as to what anything did in the game. But yeah, so this is just going to be my thoughts pre-game, as well as maybe accidentally spoiling something. Sorry if I do. I don't want to, though. Cool. So, first thing I started off my team builder with this week was the Mega Diancie. I knew that if I got a Rock Polish up, I was pretty safe to win. Just Diamond Storm, Play Rough, Body Press. Fairly simple set. I knew I could use it as a great late-game cleaner, because nothing really wanted to switch in. Oh, I guess I should go over the other team first. Megalopunny, Zapdos, Silvally, Blastoise, Umbreon, Turtonator, Gloom, Azelf, Slurpuff, Registeel, and Mimikyu. So a couple of things that I was really worried about. Megalopunny is always a threat, something that really has to be paid attention to. Blastoise with Shell Smash can kind of do a lot to my team. I kind of have ways to sort of prep around it very much. Like, I prepped a lot for it, and then Mimikyu I didn't think was going to come. It never came in my mocks, but it still put in solid work against the team. If it did come, just the matchup wasn't that great, but it's Mimikyu. It's always really scary on paper, at least to me. Yeah, okay. So now getting into it. Diancie, yeah, late game cleaner. It just does so much to everything. Megalopunny, Zapdos, Silvally, it'll do a lot to most of them. Spoiler alert, it does do a lot to the one that he ends up bringing. Blastoise, Umbreon, Turtonator. Umbreon's the only one that, or Blastoise, I mean, is the only one that isn't hit super effectively. Azelf isn't hit super effectively. Gloom isn't hit super effectively. Slurpuff isn't hit super effectively. And then Mimikyu isn't hit super effectively. But I knew that once the disguise was broken, Mimikyu was frail enough. And pre-Mega, I am bulky enough to take flash cannons from certain mons, which is really nice, because there is a lot of steel coverage running around on this team, so being able to take those flash cannons is extremely nice. Yeah, so that's kind of what I wanted to do this week with the Rock Polish, just be able to clean through the team. And then up next, I see my Avalugg here. Very bulky Avalugg. I was tempted to run max physical defense, but I didn't really see the need to. Instead, opting for a little bit of special defense. Rapid Spin, Body Press, Recover, Toxic. This thing is one of my outs to the Blastoise. I knew that if it was Shell Smash, not Whiter, Body Press did around 75%. So then one of my things could revenge it. Although I knew that I would pretty much have to sacrifice two of my Mons just to be able to KO the Mega Blastoise if it had Shell Smashed up, which was a bit of an issue in my opinion. I definitely could have brought something maybe along the lines of AV Kecleon to sort of deal with it a little bit better, but even AV Kecleon doesn't really have a great way of hitting it back. And then maybe, but like, I went with an offensive Grass, which wasn't very good for this matchup. And then, other than that, maybe Steelix as a secondary Sturdymon could have done something. But yeah, my Mega Blastoise matchup, or my Blastoise matchup rather, wasn't really too solid. That was really one thing that I was fearing. Up next, Chandelure, Fire Blast, Shadow Ball, Haze, Trick. Choice Scarf, I want it to be sort of a tech Scarf bring this week. Fire Blast and Shadow Ball were really all that I needed to do good damage to the entire team. I could have brought Energy Ball for Blastoise, but even then, I don't really see Blastoise ever coming in on this thing. You don't really want to risk it, at least at first. Haze and Trick, very solid Trick. I might have wanted to give away the Scarf to the Registeel or the Umbreon, and then Haze to be able to clear off the Mega Blastoise, or not the Blastoise's Shell Smash if I had to. And then up next, I got my Toxtricity. I finally found a good name for it, calling it Tween Wave. Physical Toxtricity, fully physical, Shift Gear, Thunder Punch, Gunk Shot, Drain Punch. So I was not max speed, which was something that I maybe could have done, just in case the Blastoise was running Modest. But I ended up packing Timid or not packing timid, just not packing a lot of speed really. Packing adamant instead, opting for shift gear, thunder punch, gunk shot, and drain punch. I should have reminded myself to check the speed EVs. I don't think I needed to run this many, but I just wanted to be safe. Kind of had a hectic week, just needed to make sure everything got done. Up next, I got my CLUTCHCHOMP with the Yachi Berry. Just again, similar to how they have a lot of steel coverage, they also have a lot of ice coverage. So having this Yachi Berry could be clutch just against something when I'm not expecting it, or even when I am expecting it. Allows me to live timid Blastoise ice beams, which was really nice. And I thought that Modest wouldn't have came this week because that Toxtricity with the threat to go +2 very easily would discourage Modest brings, which is kind of why I decided upon that. Earthquake, Stone Edge, Dragon Claw, SD. I knew that if I got an SD off, I could take 2 or 3 Mons off the team before this thing could effectively get killed. And there was kind of a good amount of things to Swords Dance up against if I wanted to be really aggressive. The one thing that I didn't really want to be too aggressive in front of was the Umbreon, because that thing could potentially carry foul play, which could have done a lot to me. And then lastly, Choice Band Kartana. I knew that Choice Band could catch the team off guard a little bit, because often, like, yeah, that's a bit of overkill, but the Umbreon with Choice Band, this thing can start denting that thing as well as the Registeel much better if it's carrying that, which is why I opted for it. And then just stabs, knock off Sacred Sword. Got some of the walls are pretty fighting weak. The Registeel and the Umbreon that form kind of a defensive duo backbone for the team. Both die to Sacred Sword, which I thought was a pretty solid bring on my part. And yeah, so I felt that my prep was pretty solid. But let's look at the play. Coming at you guys with a replay. Alrighty, so we got this replay, and on team preview, what I saw was pretty much, yeah, no Zapdos was pretty nice for me, but it wasn't really too bad, or wasn't really something that I prepped too hard for. I kind of just incidentally handled it when prepping for other big threats. And no Mimikyu, which was really nice, but I wasn't fully expecting it with some of the mons that I had. So yeah, let's just get into it. I was pretty much auto gonna lead Chandelure almost no matter what they brought, because I knew that a Fire Blast would be pretty solid to just cleave through anything, Umbreon being the only real switch in, and expecting a Registeel lead. So it turns out that I got that right, and yeah, I was just gonna fire off a Fire Blast, and I see a pretty bulky Umbreon. I didn't go in and calc it, but I knew that it was pretty bulky, and so I switched into this thing. The Toxtricity, because I didn't want to get toxic nor foul played, and I was carrying Drain Punch kind of just as a way to heal back up. And so yeah, and Umbreon was kind of just setup fodder. It didn't really do much to me, so I stayed in on that thing. And then here comes the Registeel out. I shift gear up to get speed pretty freely. I'm Sash, so now I just go for another one because I don't really see what a Registeel does to me. They pull out the Bulldoze, though, which I thought was pretty sick tech, but I knew that after a Drain Punch I should be able to live seeing that roll. But unfortunately, I do not. They get a high roll this time, which ended up taking out my Toxtricity somewhat unfortunately. But now I get a pretty free into my Chandelure again, and I go for Fire Blast, kind of not really knowing again what switches in, maybe the Blastoise, but yeah, they were hoping for an overprediction, but to be honest, I didn't really have anything that would allow me to overpredict. So they just go for a Wish here. I Leaf Blade, just plain and simple. Nothing wants to take that. So yeah, they weren't expecting Choice Band because from that range, Choice Band does not KO. And here's the Silvally Bug, which, so joke on the servers that, yeah, Kartana can pretty much fold to a Caterpie. So this is supposed to be the Silvally killer. Additionally, not too many good moves for this thing. Again, I didn't bother calcing, but Silvally is a fairly bulky mon with a resisted hit, and it was going to be a special hit too, or no, it was a physical Silvally, never mind. But yeah, so now here comes this Blastoise. I was thinking about clicking Shadow Ball, but it was just too right there. I missed the Fire Blast, which is kind of costly, but they Shell Smash up, and I'm able to. I kind of play not very great around it at this point. But they go for the dark pulse, yeah, taking off my Chandelure. And I knew that going into my Avalugg, I needed a crit body press. Otherwise, I was just trying to make something happen. So if I had went with a more especially bulky Avalugg, maybe I could have lived the second surf, but I don't think that it was very likely. So I go down, and at this point, this is kind of a last resort. If they're modest, they win right here. And yeah, that's just good game. But if they're timid and they overpredict, go for the Ice Beam, I'm able to take it with my Yachi Berry. And yeah, just go from there. EQ. Thankfully, my Garchomp is able to pretty much bail me out right there. And then now here is where I choke. This Azelf pretty much fucks me up. Because, so first things first, I go for an EQ, forgetting Azelf has Levitate, giving them a free sub. I should have went for Dragon Claw, but now they nasty plot up. I go for a Stone Edge, break the sub. I think they were trying to wait for me to get a Stone Edge miss, clearly. But I should have just been going through Dragon Claw this entire time. But I do, pretty much through these Stone Edges, manage to force them down really low for some reason. I don't know why they wouldn't just go for the KO on me. That was kind of a choke on their part. But now they go down to 2%. So they pretty much just went all the way down to 1 when they didn't have to. They Psychic, and they forget that their Life Orb and take themselves out too, which was really, really clutch. Perhaps the Garchomp could have done more, but that's all it needed to do. And now Flash Cannon from the Silvally, and I'm able to just get my Rock Polish up and win from there, just as planned. Yeah, I just went for a Diamond Storm into a Body Press because I didn't want to risk a Play Rough miss, which would have been really unfortunate had it happened. So yeah, just a Mega into, yeah. So I end up getting it 2-0, but I played pretty poorly. Thankfully my prep saved me. Yeah, so solid prep was able to save me in this one, but I did not play well. I mean, I'm not going to say that I didn't deserve the win because we both played pretty poorly, but yeah, and then as far as what I felt like the turning point in this battle was, it was definitely once I was able to KO that Mega Blastoise, I felt no real pressure anymore. I felt that the win was pretty much guaranteed. Looking at it, unless the Azelf was packing Flash Cannon as its last move, Diancie lives a +2 Psychic from that, so that was pretty solid. And then yeah, so I wasn't really feeling any pressure. And as far as my MVP for the match, I think I'm going to have to give it to Garchomp. Not because of like how the Garchomp was played, but because of how the Garchomp was prepped pretty well to be able to save my ass from that Blastoise and additionally KO the Azelf pretty much. And if that wasn't deserved, if that wasn't really thought of as deserved, perhaps the Chandelure, just for providing so much early game pressure, really could have also been my MVP. But other than that, yeah, not the greatest game, I'm going to admit, kind of dirty, but ended up getting the win. So now we're sitting at 2-1 +1. So, yep. But until next time, Jesse504, out.